These new documents don't tell us everything about what the special counsel learned from Michael Flynn. They're blacked out pretty extensively. But this memo does show that the former national security advisor helped Robert Mueller's team, which is why prosecutors are now telling a judge Flynn shouldn't even have to spend one day behind bars.
The pages heavily redacted, but between the lines, the implication is clear. Michael Flynn cooperated plenty with the special counsel. 19 meetings between Robert Mueller's team, the Justice Department, and President Trump's former national security advisor, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his conversations with the Russian ambassador in the weeks before Donald Trump took office. Now he's telling Mueller about it all. Quote, the defendant provided firsthand information about the content and context of interactions between the transition team and Russian government officials. That's partly why prosecutors recommend no prison time because of Flynn's substantial assistance. And not just with the Russia investigation. The filings cryptically reference two other unspecified investigations, a clue that more shoes may be poised to drop. The documents don't explain why Flynn lied or if anyone directed him to do so. Flynn served inside the Trump administration for just 24 days, but even after his resignation, received presidential praise.
Michael Flynn, General Flynn, is a wonderful man.
Well, I feel badly for General Flynn. I feel very badly. He's led a very strong life.
He's lost his life, and some people say he lied, and some people say he didn't lie.
Overnight, Democrat Adam Schiff suggesting that most of the details are redacted signals Flynn has given far more than we or the president may know. President Trump's attorney insists otherwise. They don't have bupkis, Rudy Giuliani tells NBC News. He argues nothing in the new memo shows collusion on the part of the president, despite the blocks of blacked-out sentences that mean only Mueller's team knows for sure. Giuliani saying, quote, if Flynn had information to share with Mueller that hurt the president, you would know it by now.
And Hallie, a lot of reporters hanging around the courthouse this week because it seems like this is going to be an active few days for documents from the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, there's definitely a flurry of activity that we are expecting over the rest of the week, Savannah. One filing that we expect to see should share more about former Trump attorney Michael Cohen and his cooperation with Robert Mueller's team, what he told the special counsel. We also expect new court filings talking about former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort and his lies to Robert Mueller. So a lot of folks are watching for that. As for Michael Flynn, his sentencing date has been set, Savannah, for December 18th, just about 2 weeks away.
All right. Hallie Jackson here in Washington with us. Thank you.